So everyone wants a leg extension and everyone wants a leg curl, but nobody wants to sacrifice half their gym square footage to acquire them. Well, meet Rep's latest release, the leg extension and leg curl bench attachment, specifically designed for Rep benches and marketed as a space-saving solution for home gym owners. This is the newest competitor in what's quickly becoming a very crowded category. Today I'm going to tell you whether I would actually want this thing in my gym so that you can decide if you might want it in yours. Bottom line, it's extremely well engineered, and I still don't want it. Let me tell you why. Hey guys, it's Chris here with Strength and Steel Review, certified personal trainer, longtime garage gym owner, and someone who is very particular about how equipment fits into his routine. Because yes, I actually train every damn day. Now, if you've watched Coop's or Gluck's reviews of this attachment, you probably already know a lot about this thing. You already know the build quality is excellent. You know Rep spent 3 years developing this specific attachment, and clearly, as you can see, a lot of money in designing it. Yes, it's very well made. Rep did not cheap out on its development. This is all true, but in my humble opinion, that simply is not enough. I think this is certainly the right choice for some of you, but if you're like me, well, it probably is not. My aim is for this review to be abundantly transparent. I'm going to tell you why this piece does not work for me and what I would choose instead. Because yeah, listen, something can indeed be extremely well built, of really high quality, and still be the wrong choice for a lot of people. And to me, this is one of those instances for sure. But I must admit that during my whole time doing this whole review thing, this is absolutely the most premium feeling bench-mounted leg developer attachment that I have encountered thus far. But to me, at this price point, I think it should be. It's $550 without the cable attachment add-on, about $630 with the cable attachment add-on. And in my opinion, if you do have a cable stack, you're probably going to want that cable attachment add-on because it is pretty good, but I will discuss that more later. For now, yeah, many of you, $630 is a hefty chunk of change to put forth for a bench attachment. For reference, the Freak Athlete leg developer is about $400, and in my opinion, it's far easier to install as a daily driver. And the Mikolo Towerette, which I'm currently loving and still have no idea how to pronounce correctly, is about $430 at the time of filming. And as an aside, generally, yeah, if you have space for a standalone piece, that's something that you should definitely think about, but I will discuss that more later. For now, I'll assume that you don't have space and we'll proceed accordingly. But yeah, this is a finely built piece of equipment. Everything about it feels premium. The problem is that premium feel, in this case at least, comes with premium size. This thing is huge. It isn't light, it's not compact, it's not space efficient, and Rep clearly knew that. It would seem that they specifically designed this to be maximally efficient in performing both exercises, though I don't think that it does. Their idea was less about compromising functionality for size, and indeed more about compromising size for functionality, if that makes any sense. And listen, if that idea excites you, cool, I get that, but it does not excite me, especially when we discuss one of the two functions later. Space is a precious commodity, and I value it greatly. Most of us home gym owners do. And honestly, at this point, I value it more than ever before. Because I recently moved to Florida where I had to reconstruct my home gym, and one big lesson that I've learned about me is that I want zero fluff and I want minimal setup with every piece that I actually own so that I use every piece that I actually own. And for me, an attachment like this just does not fit into the rhythm of my routine or into my home gym space. It isn't for me. I hate searching for places to store attachments. I really do, which, yes, I acknowledge is a part of owning a home gym. I know that, but I still seek to avoid it whenever I can. And this is, yeah, annoying to store. It's really big and it's really heavy. You're not hanging it on a wall, you're not sliding it beneath a rack, you're finding a section of your wall and you're dedicating some real estate to it. And when you're getting ready to use it, you're glancing uncertainly at both the attachment and your Rep bench before sighing and getting along with it. Now, I will say that actually moving the attachment is not so bad. The wheels are nice and built well like everything else here. It rolls very smoothly, and of course I appreciate that. But I would ask that you do keep in mind you're going to need a rep bench to use this attachment. And I'm using the Nighthawk, which is already a pretty beastly bench. So when you combine the Nighthawk, for example, with this attachment, it looks massive because it is massive. And if I were a betting man, I would imagine this duo looks even larger on screen right now. So in other words, every time I look at the attachment, I'm also looking at the bench and knowing that I need to organize them both to perform either of the movements. So speaking of which, let's talk about attaching the attachment first, because setting it up and actually connecting it to your bench, I don't like it. People will tell you it's not complicated, and yeah, they're definitely right. It isn't complicated, but it is tedious. You have to roll the attachment over from wherever you're storing it, line it up just right with the bench, lift the bench pad, and then securely fasten these two pins above and below through their designated holes. So again, no, it is not complicated. And yeah, you're going to get better at it over time, just like anything else. But when combined with moving this big old boy, lining up your at least somewhat heavy rep bench, and then the orchestration of this tedious little process, connecting the two pieces, well, it becomes, at least for me, something I don't want to do. And listen, a quote that I live by, Socrates once said, if he did exist, know thyself. And I do. And when I have to perform extra steps like this, I'm less likely to use the equipment. I just am. Now, once it is attached, you can move them all together, which is actually a pleasant surprise and pretty cool. But it is, as Coop would describe, like moving a boat. I thought that was a brilliant simile. I think that perfectly characterizes how large the two pieces when combined together are and how silly it feels to move them together. Because yeah, you can move it, but you're probably not going to want to do it often. And in my opinion, it's more of a last resort than something you'll actually be casually doing every day in your gym. You're not going to want to. Now, if you enjoy or you don't mind elaborate setup processes like this, you'll be fine. But if you're like me and pretty much always want minimal setup, well, this will eventually annoy you. And in my experience, annoying equipment tends to become unused equipment. But okay, let's shift over to the leg extension function. I'm going to show you how this chunky monkey actually operates in action. The leg extension is pretty cool. All right, time to show you the leg extension functionality of the Rep Fitness leg developer attachment. Now, this is by far the best movement you can do of the two. This is better than the leg curl. I will discuss that more soon, but the leg extension functionality is great. Currently, I'm hooked up to the Rep Aries 2.0. I'm hooked up to the weight stack. I'm using their cable edition, and it feels really good. I mean, the strength curve is great. The resistance profile from bottom to top is consistent. It feels like using a leg extension machine at a commercial gym. It feels really good. But one of the limitations, at least in my eyes, would be this bar down here. Essentially, you can't get a full stretch in the quadricep. I know Coop on Garage Gym Reviews recommends lying all the way back. I don't like lying that far back, though it does increase the tension on your quadriceps. That is nice. But if you just lean a little bit back here and you hold onto these handles, I think it feels much better. I've kind of come to terms with the fact that whether it's a standalone piece or it's an attachment on a bench or it's seemingly every leg extension at every commercial gym that I've ever used, there's always a limitation on the range of motion. That's just kind of the way that these machines are made nowadays. So until there's some kind of dramatic fix, I guess I just need to be okay with that. And as it stands here, the range of motion is pretty good. And beyond the range of motion and the stretch on your quadricep, it is very comfortable. These pads that tuck behind your knees make this movement extremely comfortable. I do not think that their utility, their comfort can be overstated. I think it's an excellent design choice. And the pads themselves that you tuck your shins against, really comfortable. I mean, Rep Fitness shines here. And in this specific regard, the attachment feels so worthwhile. Now, I've seen some people using the Vultra, and I can imagine utilizing a Vultra and moderating the eccentric load with an attachment like this would be primo. And I'm definitely jealous of that. I gotta get my hands on a Vultra. Now, the strength curve with the cable stack, with the cable edition, terrific. But I do think most of you are going to be using the plate loaded function, or at least I will, because overall I think that is more accessible and therefore easier to use. And I think many of you understand the trade-offs of a plate loaded device. Essentially, the weight is going to be lowest at the top, kind of weak at the bottom. The strength curve is going to be inconsistent. That's just kind of the name of the game when it comes to a plate loaded function like this. But this is one of the many compromises that you're ultimately going to have to make when deciding upon a plate loaded function, a plate loaded machine versus something that utilizes a cable and a weight stack. I cannot emphasize enough as far as the leg extension is concerned, despite all of my complaints about mobility, about storage, about size, if I could just put this one movement in a bottle with a small exception to the stretch and the overall range of motion, I would say this is great. Now, as far as the leg curl is concerned, I do not feel the same way. Let me switch positions here, switch camera angles, and I'll show you that. Okay, so I wanted to show you the functionality of the leg curl firsthand and exactly why I struggle with it. So first would be this knob continually gets caught on my shorts. I don't like that at all. Second would be mounting the actual bench and using the attachment. I think it's awkward. You have to take your legs, wrap them around the weight horns, then you lean forward, press your thighs against these pads. I think Coop is right. There is a lot of pressure on your quadriceps, and that's another limitation of this movement. I don't feel as comfortable when doing it. But anyway, once you get into position and you've got everything set, there's nowhere for me to place my hands. I have to kind of bear hug the bench, or I have to search around and find somewhere at the base to hold on to. Ordinarily, I would say something like, it's not the end of the world, blah, 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 blah. And I know it's not, because then I probably wouldn't have a YouTube channel. But I think it's very important during a prone leg curl to have leverage. Not so you can cheat, but so you can have the necessary stability to perform the movement. I don't want to be distracted from the actual leg curl. I want to engage my hamstrings. That mind-muscle connection, especially for me, for most of us, is extremely important. And the more distractions that I have when trying to perform a movement like this, the less adequate the exercise ultimately is going to be for me. And this is an issue that I constantly have with this attachment. It isn't comfortable, and with a piece that is this expensive, it certainly makes me doubt the validity of the purchase itself. But again, at this price point and this being built by Rep Fitness, I think many of us were hoping for something better. Look at us, we're back. Okay, so who is this attachment for? Well, if you already own a Rep bench, or if you're already invested in Rep's ecosystem, because again, you're gonna need a Rep bench to use this attachment. If you don't have the space for a standalone leg extension, leg curl machine, or if you value premium feel more than a compact size and are not irritated by setup time, and if you have the budget, then yes, this is worthy of your consideration. I'm not going to sit here and pretend this isn't well engineered. It is. It feels expensive because it is expensive. And Rep has clearly prioritized feel and execution, in this case, over footprint. If that trade-off aligns with your priorities and you're okay with a better leg extension than a better leg curl, then I completely understand why you'd be interested in this. But for me, it isn't for me. Personally, if I had to choose, I would be more attracted to Freak Athlete's ABX bench paired with their leg developer attachment. I find it to be lighter, it's easier to live with, it's easier to move, and in my opinion, the leg developer attachment, especially with the updated version, is easier to attach. Another good option would be the Tib Bar Guy Apex bench with their leg extension attachment. That also is another ecosystem, same idea, obviously with a much more expansive selection of attachments to choose from. And again, if you have the space, I'd rather go with a standalone piece. The Mikolo Towerette, which is cheaper than the Rep Fitness leg developer attachment, and in my opinion more efficient overall, is sitting at like $430 or whatever I said earlier. It's a great piece. I really enjoy it. My wife loves it. We're having a great time with it, and I will have a full review of that soon. But those are my thoughts. They're mine. They belong to me. Use my thoughts and make a decision for yourself. As I always say, do not let anyone make decisions for you. You decide. This is your money. This is your gym. It's your equipment. Treat it that way. But if you want to check out this attachment or any of the alternatives that I've offered you, I'll provide links below in the description. And if this was helpful, hit the like button to appease the almighty algorithm. Subscribe for more honest reviews that may prevent companies like Rep from ever working with me. And as always, you stay strong and you stay steely, and I'll catch you in the next one. Adios.